Welcome back to BoltAction Bunker, and in this video we'll be making some walls for your tabletop. Now then, there's a few things you're going to need for building the walls. I've got some foam board piece there and some balsa wood for the bases. So they're the bases that we make out of the balsa wood. So I just cut them off the same size of what I want to make the wall. So I want to make these 120mm long, the wall sections. So I've cut that down, 120mm down, cut that across. Just cut that across here, 120mm, nice and simple. Just use your knife to cut that up with the balsa wood. That's 2.5mm thick. So that's all you need for that, for the base. And I'll show you those in a minute. So the different sizes of the walls, I want to make two different sizes. I want to make a full height one. So that's higher than a troop. So what have I got? Here we go. So that's a piece that I want to make. So that's 40mm. Yep, so that's 40mm high. So that's completely hiding the troop. That would be a full height wall, 40mm high, like that. So that's the height I want to make some of them. And then the second height wall, I want to be just behind the wall like that, so we can see over it. In fact, that might be a fraction too high, so I might alter that in a minute. So they are 20mm. That one's 20mm at the moment. So I might make that just a fraction smaller because I want to put a coping on here, a little top edge. So I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. So I'm going to cut the next one a little bit smaller than that. So let's go ahead and mark that up. So if you've not used foam board before, it's nice and easy, but you do need a sharp knife and a straight edge. So I did that one there, the small wall I did at 20mm, so I'm going to make this one 15mm like this, so not very big at all. And this one here, 15mm. Put your straight edge across, hold that down nice and firm, and then just run your knife across. Take your time here, you want to go nice and easy. Don't force your knife through because you'll tear the foam. Just run that through a couple of times and it'll just pop away. There we go. So now we've got a piece 15mm tall. What I want to do now is just split that up into 120mm sections. So I just mark off, if I can, there we go, mark off 120mm there, and again there, yeah, just like that. Take your ruler, straight edge, your knife, and again, a few cuts, and it'll just cut through nice and easy, and it should leave you with a nice edge on the foam there, not all torn. If you go too quick, you'll tear the foam. So just go through a couple of times, a couple of edges. There we go. So now we've got, get rid of that. So now we've got our walls and our bases, which I cut out. So they should fit on there nice and easy like that. Okay, so now when our troops are there, they can see over. It's just cover, hard cover, so you can see them. I'm going to use Yoo-hoo glue to glue these on. I think you can use PVA as well, which will glue these quite well. I'm going to use Yoo-hoo because it's pretty quick, and I'll just stick them down there, and this one stick that one on there. There we go. Press them down. So now I've got a couple of little walls, and you can butt them up if you want. Make a corner up if you like. You can make a corner section, which is probably what I'll do for my model. I'm going to let those dry, and we can move on to the next section. So they're nice and easy. They're the small ones, and they're the full height ones that I've made. So they're the small, and there's the full height. So now we can get on and we can do some painting and just fill out these to make them look a bit more like a wall. So I'm going to get the next step ready, and I'll see you in a bit. Right, I've just realised that I haven't put an angle at the top of the wall here, which is what I wanted to do. So I've just cut that one. So that's what I want to try and get the effect of. So it's at an angle. So now all I'm going to do is just take my knife. I should have done this before I glued them on the bases, but all I do is just put the knife on here, nice and simple, and just go down there nice and slowly. Just trim that off. So if you want an angle on the top of yours, remember to do it before this stage. It's not got to be perfect, because we're going to be filling some of these up in a little while. So let me just cut this one as well. And as you can see, the foam board cuts nice and easy, so it's no big deal. Let's get that done. Okie doke. Oh, mad that. Right. Now the small ones I'm going to leave flat, and the big ones I've now chamfered the edge. So that's the look I'm looking for. So again, this is a fraction too high for what I want, so that's why I've made these ones slightly smaller. Okay. Now this is what I'm going to go for. This is the look we're looking for, that I'm finishing up. I've got some gates on here. These are just balsa wood. I'll show you how to make those again later on. And they're the coping stones right across the top. So we're going to make those and glue them on next. Okay, next up I've got some cardboard. So this is about 3mm thick, this cardboard. So I was lucky enough to just unpack some bedroom furniture from IKEA, and they sent it in some fantastic cardboard, which I've kept. So 3mm thick cardboard. Now what we want to do now is cut this into some strips for the coping. So piece of foam board, so we're going to need it wider than the foam board. I don't want it a lot wider, so there we go. So I'm just going to give it a couple of mil that side, a couple of mil this side, and that should be plenty. Now also what I want to do is I want to use this side. I want to be able to see this side. So this side with the corrugations in it is the side that's going to be facing down and out on the walls. So we want to see that corrugation. So I'm just going to put that on there, just like that. And again, don't go crazy, just let your knife cut through, just there. Use that as a ruler. That on there. It's a bit big, that end. There we go, it's better. Just cut that through. and one more. That one through. So, there are the corrugations. Nice and easy to make. So, if I can find my scissors, wherever they're gone. Okay, now, with these, when you're making the coping stones, obviously, they're going to be too big for any kind of scale work. It just, they would have to be a lot smaller. If this was a proper scale wall, proper scale building, these would be a lot smaller. But what we're going to do is just cut them, not too small, as square as we can get, and just cut enough to fill the edges up here. So I'll cut those up and then we'll move on. So we're just cutting these up, no particular size, just some, you don't want them too big, you don't want them too small, but you want them different. So we're just going to cut them through different sizes all the way through. So we get a nice big pile of them. So I'll finish cutting these and I'll come back to gluing them on. Now we've got a big pile of cardboard for our tiles. I've cut a few with just their edges off. So I just nipped the edge off of a couple of them. Gives it a little idea of that they're broke or chipped. So you don't want to do too many, so just a couple. There we go, so they're different sizes. I'm going to take the glue again. So again, I'm going to use the Yoo-Hoo glue, and just going to go across the top here, like that. And then I want the corrugations up and down, just there. And I'm just going to put these right the way along. Don't butt them up too close. Hopefully you won't pick up the same ones in the same sheet, so they'll look different cut. And they're going to be different lengths as well. That will all look good once that's painted. There we go, let's put a little broken one in there, like that. That's it. We're just going to go right the way along, gluing them into place. There we go, nearly there. Now if you get to the edge like I have there, and you've got a little gap just there, so what we'll do, I'll cut one just to go in that gap. So put the, that's not going to be any good, that bit. Let's try again. Down there, down there, a bit more. Okay, so just get one. No, that's not going to go. I think I'm going to have to take that one off. Cut two down. That one, make that one fit. Do one more. There we go. Oh. Put that one on there. There you go, that's the first one done. So we've got the sides, the foam board, the balsa wood, and now the card all glued on. So I'm going to carry on and do the rest, and let's do this one as well. Let me do this one so you can see the angle. And like I say, remember I didn't actually trim this very well. I only done it with by hand, so that will give us a bit more of an uneven surface, but that's fine because that's what we want. We don't want it all uniform. There we go. I think that one is there. Just like that. There we go. Nearly done. Oh, there's one of the broken ones. Let's stick that in. Like that on the edge. And one little one in there. Done. Okay, so now we've got the bigger wall, as you can see, nice and easy, and looks all wobbly, which is the effect we want, not natural. So I'll finish off the others and I'll come back when they're done. Okay, so now I've done them all, made them all up. As you can see, this all looks really rough, all zigzaggy and lots of shapes on there, so they look really good. On this one I've just pushed one to the side and down a fraction to give it a little bit of a movement, a wave on the edge there, and then the same again on this one. There's a little wave across the front here, so they look really good. Now I'm going to move on to the next step, just giving the walls a little bit of detail as well now. So I'm going to get some card and I'll show you that bit. Okay, so the next stage, I've got some thin card here, just nice and thin, like cereal box card. I think this is actually slightly thinner than that, but cereal box card will probably do it. And all we're going to do is cut this into strips, like this. Now, you don't want them too big, and I'll show you in a second. There we go, that should be plenty for this. Now this is the one that I did a little while ago. I did this years ago when I was first mucking around with stuff, and I put these pieces, these block work on here, and it does look good. It looks good. It looks nice terrain, but they're slightly too big. So when I decided I was going to redo this, I wanted to make these slightly smaller. So take our card. Again, you don't want it even. You just want some pieces, different shapes and different sizes. So let's just cut a few of these and I'll show you putting them on. Okay, that's probably going to be enough, to be honest. Right. So with these, so they're going to be fairly square or oblong. What you want to do is just round a couple of the corners off, nip the corner off, or round one of the two of the corners, so they're not all uniform. There we go, cut that one off like that. A couple of square ones there, different shapes anyway. There we go, like that. Take that one off, there we go. There we go, so have a little play with a few of them. Come up with a few little different shapes, what you want. And then let's get these glued on. Okay, for gluing the card on to the wall, I'm just going to use a little bit of PVA. You can water it down if you want. I tend not to water down my PVA. I leave it as is. and all I'm going to do is put a little bit on like that, use an old brush, get it on there. There we go, it's plenty there. And then take some of the shapes that you've cut and just put them onto the wall. Doesn't matter what side the card is, just put them on. There we go. Just some tweezers. Just there, like that. On there, on there, just like that. You can see that. Hope so. And then I'm going to do a few more along the other end. There we go. Come on. I think they actually look a little bit too big as well. I think you could have probably gone with some smaller ones of these as well, but there we go. A bit late now. Just put them on. Get a bit of detail. On there. And that one. On there. Like that. Turn it round. And then we'll do some on this side. There we go. Get a couple of these on. Like that. One more in there. That's it. Another one there. Like that. Now they're not touching, they're just away from each other. Now these are only just to make the wall so it doesn't look absolutely dead flat, gives it a bit of surface, something to paint. There we go. Like that. There we go. All done. So that's that side. And then that's that side. There we go. So I'll let them dry and I'll finish off the others and I'll come back and show you. Okay, so this is the last of the big walls. Again, just spread some PVA on here, not too much, doesn't take a lot, and pop these on. Now you can, with the bigger wall, you can see a little bit more of it, so gives you a little bit more opportunity to space some of these out and make look a few more interesting sort of shapes on the wall. Now remember, you know, leave a tiny gap between each one because we're going to dry brush these in a bit and that will give it a lot of character then. There we go. Now just get them on. There we go. See, it doesn't take a lot and you get a good effect on there. Let's do the other side. Again, PVA on. There we go. Take some card, pop it on. You see they're all different shapes, these. They're not all uniform. All I did was cut up that card nice and rough. Get it on there. Just to show you how easy these can be to make. One more. Let's put a little bit up there, like that. There we go. So that's that one done. I'm going to let these dry now before we move on to the next stage. See you in a bit. Okay, so the next stage I'm going to do, I'm going to put some sand and grit on the bases. So again, just take the PVA, put that right along the base edge, like that. And also I'm going to put just a little bit on the wall itself. Okay, and go over the card as well that we've just put on. You don't want too much on there, and then we can just put the sand on, grit, whatever you want to use. I've got play pit sand for this. I'm just going to put a little bit on the wall as well, like that. There we go. So it's like that. You can see that looks a little bit messy at the moment, but it will be better. So let's get this one on this side, like that. And again, I'm going to put just a little bit up here, a little bit on here, just like that. Get the sand again. And again, looks a little bit messy. Get that edges, miss the edge. Better. It looks a bit messy, but once that starts to dry, we can just brush that off a little bit. Now I'm going to base the rest of them. And come back and show you when I've done them. Do the edge on this one. There you go. Again, just a little bit on the wall itself. There we go. If you don't want any sand on the walls, then don't put it on. But, I quite like the effect. You can brush a little bit of it off as well. If you think you've put on too much, you can just use a dry brush at the end and just brush a little bit off. You know, you do what you like. Once you've done one, you'll see what you like and what you don't like. Okay, like I say, it looks a little bit messy at the moment, but once we get some paint on there, that'll look a lot better. So I'm going to do the rest, and I'll come back and show you in a bit. Okay, I'm going to stop the video there. But if you want to see the finished walls, make sure you check out part 2, and make sure you leave some comments, subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, that'd be fantastic. Put some comments down there. If there's anything you want me to build, leave some comments. I'll have a look at them. If I can, I'll build it. If I can't, I'll let you know. So I'll leave it there, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.